If you want to increase your squat flexibility, then we need to look at hip mobility as an overall thing. So today, in this follow-along sequence, I'm going to be taking you through 4 amazing drills that you can do to develop insane levels of hip flexibility so you can get deeper in your squat and lift some serious weight.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.
All right, I'm going to show you a really nice routine that you can do here as a mobility warm-up for your squatting. You can also do this as a cool down. If when you do it as a warm-up, you don't hold any of the positions for too long, you just go through the movements. When you do it as a cool down or a routine on a day off, you can do multiple sets and reps. You do a lot more either at the end of your squat session or if you're not squatting in that day. But if you're doing this just as a warm-up, you just go through it once and you're basically just using it to access your full range of motion. But when we use it to try to increase range of motion, we can go for it a little bit more. We can hold the positions for longer and we can do more sets and reps. But the reason why you don't do that before you do a squat workout is because it reduces your strength potential, and you don't want to do that. The purpose of a warm-up, a good warm-up, is to prepare you for the training session. It's not to weaken you for the training session. Okay, so that's really important to understand. So the devil's in the dose. Now I'm going to take you through this as though it was a mobility routine before your squat. So again, if you want to do this, if you want to add it in as a cool down at the end of your squatting session, or to do it as a separate workout on a day where you're not squatting, then just do 3 sets and do everything for a little bit longer than what I do. So the first one we're going to do is a seated good morning, and the reason why we're doing a seated good morning is because a big part of hip flexibility for the squat is hamstring flexibility, and the seated good morning is a beautiful way for me to be able to access full hamstring flexibility in a way that is more relevant to a squat. Because in a squat, the part of the hamstring that crosses the knee is not relevant for the squat. That's not going to hold you back. It's the part of the hamstring that crosses the hip that's going to hold you back from being able to go deeper into a squat. And this is a really nice way of developing full range of motion strength, so loaded flexibility, in a safe way. Hey, in case we haven't met, my name's Rad Burmeister. I'm one of the co-founders of Unity Gym and co-creators of the UMS, the Unified Movement System, where we make driven people strong, flexible and fit with 1-hour workouts. If you want to know how we do it, you can grab one of our downloads, one of the blueprints. There's a link in the description for all of our free downloads, giving away the breakthrough moments that we had to create our program over the last 17 years of being coaches. And if you're ready to grab one of our amazing programs for calisthenics, strength, flexibility, or skills, you can click the link down there to check out our programs library. And if you're a high achiever and you want to start online coaching with us, you can get a 1-month free subscription plus a sweet deal afterwards where you can work with me personally and get access to our gym workouts and home workouts that require no equipment with our UMS online subscription, where in 1-hour workouts where we have follow-along videos, you're going to get strong, flexible and fit. It's phenomenal. Click the link down there to get started. So we're just going to come up to our barbell and we're going to get into a back racked position and then come back down to the bench. And then from here, I'm just going to bring my feet a little bit forward from my knees so that I've got stability when I go down. And then I'm just going to come down as low as I can and back up. So I'm basically just feeling this point where I get to my full range of motion. Now for you, if you're not as flexible as me, it might look like this. That might be all you've got, and that's totally fine. Things to look out for is make sure that the barbell isn't in a high bar position, because that'll come up around your neck when you go down. You want to keep it quite low so that the weight is definitely on your shoulders, okay? And we're just going to do several reps like this. And you can load this up, of course, but if you're doing it as a warm-up for your squat, you wouldn't load it up. But if you're doing it as a flexibility routine, you absolutely can. So that's the first exercise, the seated good morning. Oops. Okay. Next one we're going to do is a seated glute stretch. So from here, I'm going to put my foot up on top of my knee, And I'm going to pay really close attention to where my hips are. I want my hips facing forward. You can really easily, if you're quite tight, you can be looking forward, but your hips are pointing that way, and that's cheating the stretch. So we want to have our hips facing forward. I get a better stretch when I also get my foot under my knee. I find that if I let my foot go over here, it's not as good. So it just creates a much better platform for your foot to sit on if the foot's under the knee. So the foot's under the knee, my hips are facing forward, I'm sitting quite upright, and then I'm just going to apply a little bit of pressure with my arm onto my knee like this, okay? And that's going to give me a nice stretch in the glutes, and I'm just going to be pushing down. Now, if this is if you're doing this as a mobility warm-up before your squat, you will literally just do a couple of 1, 2, 3, and that'll be it, because you don't want to be doing static stretching before you're squatting. But if we're doing this as an actual stretch at the end of the squat session, then you can absolutely, what you can try and do is lean forward. So by leaning forward, you add more pressure, and so my arm is pushing into that knee and my body's pushing forward to add pressure there, and that's giving me a really nice stretch on the glutes. Now we're going to move into some of the more aggressive stretches, okay? And these are brilliant to do as a warm-up before your squat session, and also to do as their own workout, you know, if you want to increase your squat flexibility. So the first one we're going to do is a split squat. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stand here with my feet slightly turned out, and if I go on either side of this line, you can see I'm not standing on the line, I'm standing on either side of that line. So it's like representing the distance that would be between my feet if I was to squat. So it's that same position here, but I'm just coming back. That's how we do a split squat to keep our stability. And then from here, what I'm going to do is just come right down and let that knee travel as far forward as it can, and try to keep this back knee off the ground and try to sit up as much as I can. And we're just going to do a couple of reps like this. So coming right down and then back up. So what I'm trying to do is keep my body upright as much as I can, so that the deeper I go, the more I feel the stretch in the hip flexor here, okay? And tight hip flexors can play a role in reducing your range of motion in your squat, reducing the quality of your squat. And what we're also doing here, we're getting a double whammy, because we're getting this beautiful mobility drill for the ankle, knee, and hip in the front leg as well. And this also is really going to help with your front splits if that's a goal of yours, because if you look at that angle between my femurs here, it's getting close to that 180-degree front split. So now I'll do the other leg. Of course, we always do both sides. Okay, so from here, it's going to come right down, back up, right down, and I'm really trying to sit as upright as I can and get this knee as far forward as I can, so that I create mobility in both hips, knees, and ankles. So of course, I'm only creating mobility in the front knee. The back knee is not getting any mobility work, but I'm getting mobility in the hip flexors of the back leg. I'm getting mobility in the hamstrings and calves and all the muscles in the ankle for the front leg. It's a really, really good way to warm up for your squat, but also to increase your squat range of motion. And then the last one that we're going to do is a Cossak squat. So Cossak squats are so, so good for squatting. They're one of the best exercises I've ever done to increase dorsiflexion, which is what we use for the squat. But it's also very, very good for the adductors, and also for the glute strength, because you're using your glutes to pull your knees out. So this is, of course, if you get the technique right. I'm going to show you the more advanced version and the goal, and then I'll regress it for you so you can see easier versions. So what I like to do is have my feet facing forward and try to keep my feet flat on the ground as I come right down and then back up. So I'm pushing this knee out, okay? So I'm mimicking what I would do in my squat. As I come down, keeping that foot flat on the ground, getting a beautiful stretch in the adductors, okay? And because the adductors are all intertwined with the hamstrings, tight adductors are going to affect your hamstrings as well. They're going to limit your range of motion in your hamstrings, which means that it's going to affect your squat, okay? Now, if you can't do that, what we're going to do, the first regression is that I'm just going to let this foot come up like this. So this makes it a lot easier. Okay, that's the first regression. Less requirement for flexibility in the adductors. Still trying to get right down here. Okay, push the knee over the toes to get that dorsiflexion, get the hamstring resting on the calf, but just allowing this foot to do what it wants to do. Okay, not trying to restrict it. And then the last regression, which makes it a hell of a lot easier, and this isn't wrong, it's just, it should be a goal to get past this as quick as possible. And that is that we're just going to allow the heel to come off the ground here. Okay, so here my heel comes off the ground, so I'm not worried about not having the dorsiflexion, because a lot of people when they try a Cossack squat, they get to here and the only way they can go lower is to do that, and that's okay. But if that's you, you absolutely want to watch the second video in this series. This is video 4, and the second video is all about how to increase ankle flexibility for the squat. Make sure you watch all of them. There's 5 videos in this series and they're all really, really good. So that routine, if you do it for about as long as I did it for just then, that's a really, really good warm-up. And if you want to do it at the end of your squat routine to seriously increase your flexibility, then you do 2 or 3 sets of everything. So what's the difference? Mobility, like what I did just there, it's just taking my joints through their full range of motion to prepare me for the strength session that's about to happen. A flexibility routine, I can do exactly the same exercises, but I can do it as a flexibility routine, which is when I do it at the end of my workout for 2 to 3 sets, and the goal there is to increase my mobility. And of course, by doing multiple sets, I'm going to get deeper. I'm also going to create, I'm going to increase the load on my body, which means that I'll need to recover from it as well. So that are 2 great ways that you can use this routine to get your ass to grass squat and get right down with some serious strength. Hey, thanks for watching that video. If you liked it, consider subscribing to our channel and make sure you click the notification bell so you know when our weekly videos are uploaded. Now, the best thing for you to do if you want to stay connected with us and get free online coaching is to join our private Facebook group. It's called the UMS Movement Mastermind, and we go live daily where we answer our members' questions. It's very interactive because you can post questions while we're live and we interact with you on the show. You can also upload videos or pictures of yourself with any movements, any stretches, strength training movements, calisthenics, weightlifting, anything that you're struggling with, and we'll critique you, give you feedback, let you know how you can get better. It's a really valuable resource. It allows a lot of communication with us and also our senior tribe members. You'll get answers very, very quickly, and it's absolutely free. So jump on Facebook, search for UMS Movement Mastermind and join now. Until next time, have a great day.